Good day, Star Warsians, Star Wars fans, secret friends united. This is the Holocron Chronicles, talking about Star Wars over on Secret Friends Unite podcasting network. I am your humble host, Jedi Master number one, or X-Wing Flyboy. I prefer that. It's a little bit more on brand for me because you can see, if you're watching us on YouTube, as you can see directly behind me is my X-Wing helmet, which I recently augmented with my 3D printed Luke lightsaber that I used to carry around when I was an active cosplayer. It snapped on my belt. So that, and yeah, I'm a little bit more Star Wars eccentric in my background today. But anyway, I'm joined as always by number one Jedi Master of West Michigan. Now you got the title. This is Peter Stein. Peter, good morning to you.
Good morning.
All right. Well, we are back with some new content. And granted, this is the first time I think we've gone monthly with the show, first or second time. So due to kind of lower production with Star Wars topics to talk about, we've kind of drawn back to once a month. We did finally learn that we're getting AHSOKA Season 2 starting in January. So when we get to January, we're going to ramp back up to bi-weekly so that we're covering that in kind of an expeditious fashion. But we have some new content today to talk about in the form of Star Wars Visions presents the Ninth Jedi. We're talking about there's an 8-episode series, and we're talking about 4 of the episodes today. So we're still spacing it out, but when we're back next month, we'll wrap that up. And then there's also a new Star Wars Lego movie to talk about. So we'll have a longer episode next time. So kind of excited about that. So got some fun stuff to talk about. But as always, before we get the ball rolling, I'd love to give homage to the absolutely terrific people on our Secret Friends Unite Patreon over at patreon.com. Try that, because if you type .com, I'm not really sure how that's going to work out for you.
Might end up in a strange
yeah, exactly. Break the internet. You do find great exclusive shows over there, including The Facts of Geek Life, where Peter and I just wrapped up talking about one of the greatest shows of all time, Ron Moore's Battlestar Galactica. My wife April and I do a Bad Movies podcast, and starting in September, we're going to start a Great Movies podcast. And Peter, I haven't told you this yet, but what I did with that is I ranked on IMDb all of the top films of all time, and I did about 15 of them, and I'm not sure the frequency we're going to do it. It might be bi-monthly, once a quarter. It might be monthly. But 3 of the movies are the Lord of the Rings films, which you will be joining us for. But those are exclusive to Patreon. So folks, it's easy to tune into our Patreon. Your first week is free. You can stay on board as a free Patreon without having to pay. You might not get any of the perks, but at least you can kind of keep track of one. It's the one place where you can see all of our releases in one spot. If you do stay on board, your first month half off, but then you can stick around for as little as $2 a month. So it's very economical, and you get a lot of great entertainment for only $2 a month. So again, patreon.com/Secret Friends Unite. Okay, we have honest to God Star Wars news and a trailer for AHSOKA Season 2. So D23, the big Disney promotional Kablamazoid, was either last week or the week before that. And we got a trailer for AHSOKA Season 2. This show came on in the summer of 2023, so that is now over 3 years ago. It was to my very great disappointment, we talked about it on the show, when we found out that we would not be getting that this summer, which to me totally made sense. Delayed by the writer's strike, this thing or that thing, waiting to see how, The Mandalorian and Grogu did in the theaters, which was not great. They were really holding back on this. And I want to tell you, I'm glad they did, but I'm not glad they did, because I'd like to be watching it right now, because this is the most exciting Star Wars thing I've seen in years. This trailer did it for me. It put the Star Wars back in Star Wars. Peter, walk us through the trailer, please.
Okay, so the beginning of the trailer has some flashbacks with Anakin Skywalker talking to Ahsoka. When we see some Clone Wars flashbacks, specifically, I think it's the ice planet. Well, actually, it looks like it's a different one than we saw. But anyway,
it's a planet.
It's not the Pantoran moon.
It's kind of the woods at night kind of vibe, a la like Force Awakens, like the penultimate.
It's very much that. So we have that. We have Anakin is telling Ahsoka, it's like, hey, you need to learn these things, and then we kind of get this montage of like a dude with a dividing lightsaber.
Right. He's got, in the middle part of it is also lightsaber. It's not just a handle.
Blade. Yeah. It's kind of interesting to see what it's like, a bow staff, but lightsaber. Right.
But
if you grab it wrong, your hand's gone.
Yeah, I know. It probably takes a little bit of practice.
we get a little bit of Thrawn making a statement of how he swore an oath to the Empire, which I have thoughts on, but he says that, and then that he's going to retake the galaxy in the name of the Empire. We get a really cool shot of him sitting in his command chair on the Chimera.
Nice.
Which is a callback to like every other Thrawn scene ever in the books. And
he's good at sitting. He's a sitter.
He's good at.
He'd be a great babysitter.
I think. Well, actually, he might be.
Might have to make that the name of the episode. Hold on.
So we see Thrawn there. We see various shots of rebels being concerned about that.
I might have to make that the name of the episode.
Various shots of rebels being concerned. So we have that. We actually have a shot of those who have read the books, what appear to be mole miners landing on starships and dropping in.
That was cool. That was
Dead Night Sisters.
That was from that book, the book series that we read. So that did seem familiar.
Yep. So they dropped them in, and more concerned rebels that now die. Ezra's flying a ship. We see Huang. I keep pronouncing his name wrong. The droid who makes the lightsabers.
It's Huang, isn't it?
Huang, yeah.
Huang! Like from Scent of a Woman and De Niro. Huang!
We see him pull a General Grievous and fight Shin. And then at the very end, we get Sabine and Ahsoka going around opening mysterious mossy doors. And then we get a bit where Anakin at the end is like, Balin was looking for a power, and now you have to decide, are you a Jedi or not? And that was kind of a cool end.
Or are you out? Yes. I was absolutely blown away by the fact that we see a lot of ship combat. We get a beautiful shot of the B-Wings doing their new signature move, which we got from Skeleton Crew, which I still want to call Skeleton Crew as much as I loved it.
Where we first saw it.
Right, but we first saw it in live action. So here, I'm gonna acknowledge what you said and then go back to being correct. But using that laser effect to cut up Star Destroyer. So it was like, my God, this is what I feel like I've been looking for. Everything else of this was super action packed. But the bittersweet part of it I'm talking about is that this is the last live action Star Wars anything that is on the slate. So, I did a video. What's that?
Starfighter should be on the slate, is it not?
No, television. Television.
Oh, television.
Should have qualified. It throws back to a video I did on my kitchen chats, which you can find on our YouTube channel and all my social medias, about the fact that Star Wars, our beloved Star Trek, Peter and I are more Star Trek than almost anything else. So we do a Star Trek show on our network called Code 47, which you may or may not know about, depending on when you're tuning in. And then Doctor Who as well, which is something I'm not as experienced in, have all gone into this kind of state of dormancy where there's nothing really on the slate for all of them. And while it feels sad and it's a bummer, you do have to remember that all three of those properties that we were talking about have gone through long periods of dormancy. It was 12 years between originally it was over 15 or 17 years between Star Trek and Star Trek The Next Generation, between Return of the Jedi and episode 1, it was over 15 years.
It was so 10 years between TOS and motion picture. So it's like,
yeah, exactly. So there everybody's like, oh my God, the sky is falling. What's happening? It was
a little over 10 years between Jedi and Phantom Menace. So
yeah, no, it was from 83 to 99. Yeah. So over 15. But yes, the media landscape is very different with streaming and this and that, and we tend to look at things differently. Oh, the sky is falling, but we are talking about evergreen properties that will come back. Plus, in the case of Star Wars, really, and not Doctor. I can't remember if Doctor Who's still Warner Brothers, right? Isn't that's where you find all the episodes? You find them on HBO Max, I think.
You can find some of them there, but BritBox or BBC America is your best bet.
So, I mean, and again, in the streaming world, all of that stuff, the vast majority now, Star Trek being a bit of a misnomer because some of them are not, but everything that they made, I mean, Star Trek has almost 1,000, I call them segments because I combine movies and TVs and TV episodes and shorts. There's almost 1,000 of them. We're still going to be making Code 47 forever, potentially, because we love talking about Star Trek and there's new and different, there's things we can revisit and dig deeper. So, the sky is not falling, but at the same time, I feel sadness because this is really what I want to see, and I wonder how many people feel the same that I do, that maybe if we got more wars in our Star Wars and space fights and like things that we saw in the movies, that maybe people would be more enthused, these things would be more popular. You know what I mean? So I'm curious, but it is also unfortunately fall back on the, what we had to say, and when I know it definitely my wife's main thought about why The Mandalorian Grogu wasn't successful is that television program, extremely cinematic, everything you see on there looks like you could see it on a big movie screen. So when you transition that over to the TV or to the movie screen, the story has to be huge. And Mandalorian really was not. So the thought is about Starfighter looking down the road, and Peter and I, Peter is now a full partner in our summer movie challenge, which will not be televised. It'll be something that gets handled between Peter and John and myself, where we make predictions for the domestic box office performance of films during the first part of May to Labor Day, essentially, is that with a new film that has a huge star, that has promised a completely new kind of story divorced from what we've been seeing, that it can be successful again, that Star Wars can return to some kind of glory. So people just want good stories, and there's definitely a place for heritage properties in Star Wars, I think, on the small screen because they've had some success, but doing the same thing over and over again, not as much, and trying to take a TV show and lump it onto a movie screen and stitch together a couple of episodes and then turn it into something. I just think you're going to have a similar fate. So anyway,
so well when they did that the first time with the Clone Wars.
Yeah, nobody talks about the Clone Wars animated film that came out in the summer 2008. However, that is an upcoming episode of our show because we are following along and doing that. Because again, if you enjoy the Clone Wars, you'll enjoy that, but you're not really going to bother to go see it in the movie theater, particularly in this day and age. So, so that's it. Any final thoughts before we move on? This does come out on January 20 of 2007, and I said that the week after that we're going to jump back into bi-weekly mode. So we'll cover. There's 8 episodes, so I think we'll break them down either in 2s and 4s or something like that.
I do have one quibble, which I mentioned when I was talking about the trailer about Thrawn specifically, because if you're a longtime listener, I really like the character of Thrawn.
That's your guy. Would you say he's your favorite Star Wars character if you were going on a limb?
He's up there. It's him, Kyle Katarn, and then it's a tie between Luke and Obi-Wan, I think. But then Ahsoka and Rex are up there too. So it's hard.
Fair.
But there's a line in the trailer where Thrawn says, "I swore an oath to the Empire," and that's what's his guiding purpose, more or less. That's not entirely accurate for the character. Thrawn's allegiance, first and foremost, is to the Chiss ascendancy.
Right. My people. People.
That is the reason he is here. That is the reason why he is doing what he is doing. And his allegiance to the Empire is an allegiance of convenience.
Right.
It's not as loose as that makes it sound. Like he is loyal, but for him to couch it that way is just a little strange. Now, it depends on how they use it. Maybe that's just him being bombastic to the rebels.
Right.
But
which as noted, he still refers to them as the Rebel Alliance, even though they are.
He does in the books all the time.
He does in the books, yeah. And then again, we broke down not that long ago on this show, going through that first Thrawn trilogy, and he's just really firmly, which of course takes place in a different continuity than this, but he's very firmly entrenched in saying, no, that pesky Rebel Alliance,
So that's my only quibble with this is just I'm a little like, okay, what are we doing here? But outside of that, it looks really good.
Right. So. Cool. So, yes, we'll be back to talk about that in length, but we are going to now transition over to talking about some honest-to-God new content that really surprised me. We've been doing this show. I started doing it with Mark in, I think, either late 2020 or early 2021. And in the first season of the animated Star Wars Visions, which was not long after that, I was just kind of left adrift because the format is anime. And that is not where I live. It's not something that I enjoy. And so I kind of struggled to be a part of that conversation at the time. I know Mark had another one of his regular collaborators on at the time to talk about it. And I was just kind of twiddling my thumbs. I didn't have a lot to say. And, there was a second and then now a third season of that show. And again, I was looking for ways to contribute, to stay positive and to have something to add a value, because the very last thing I want to do, and then by extension with all the content that we create, though this may be different because I'm recording this afternoon talking about the first episode of DC Studios' Lanterns on HBO Max. Peter's going to be joining me for that, but our guest is someone who did not enjoy it, and he and I were talking this morning, and he was like, did you really want me on if I really didn't enjoy it? I said, yes. I said, I think there's an opportunity for different points of view, but I think we have to not be on a soapbox and not being what I refer to as a militant fanboy, where you're just like, I didn't like it, so it's bad. That's not okay with me. And that's what I hope I didn't bring to the table talking about Visions in the past. But I was surprised by this. And we are talking about, to belabor the point, Star Wars Visions presenting the Ninth Jedi, 8 episodes. We're going to talk about the first 4. The series is the first limited series under the Visions Presents branding. So it really is, this is a first foray into doing something like this. And like any first foray, I'm sure it's a test of some kind to see if it's successful, if it resonates with people. There would invariably be more. But it's spinning off the animated television series Star Wars Visions we've been talking about. This came out earlier this month. We're releasing this at the end of August on Disney Plus and Hulu, which are, of course, now kind of one and the same. This is where we get a little into the weeds, and it's one of my comments as we start to wrap up. The series continues the short films The Ninth Jedi from Volume 1 of Star Wars Visions and The Ninth Jedi, Child of Hope from Volume 3. So you got 2 shorts that I did not. I don't know about you. I didn't go back and rewatch them. I didn't. I kind of I remember some of it. Yeah, and I kind of regret it because again, my ability to catch up with stuff like this, I would like to say relatively advanced, just because we do this and it's our requirement to be somewhat apt at being consumers of media, that we can keep up with stuff and just not be totally lost. That being said, there were parts of this where I was totally lost, but maybe you can catch me up. The series is produced by Production IG, and here's going to be the part where I'm going to murder some names. So I'm going to let Peter read the last part of it. He's really a lot better at names than I am. So go ahead, read the last part.
Okay, so it's directed by Shunsuke Tada, written by Mitsuyatsu Saki, and Kenji Kamiyama serves as supervising director.
Nice work. And again, as I mentioned, 8 episodes. So we're going to do this. I have just a handful of notes on each one because we have a full hashed out description. Goes without saying, this is going to be spoiler filled because I'm about to read a summary of each episode. If you want to jump in, watch the first 4 episodes right now, give us a pause. Come on back. I would love to give you a timing, but it's approximately 18 to 19 minutes into the programming after I add the opening credits to this. So, but just give it a pause, go watch the show, come back and see us. It'll save it on your device. But anyway, I'm going to read the summary of episode 1, which is called A New Threat.
Who do it?
What's that?
You want me to read the first part and then you read the summary?
Oh, that's a great idea. Let's do that.
Okay, so episode 1 is A New Threat, directed by Shunsuke Tada, story by Kenji Kamiyama, and teleplay by Mitsuyasu Sakai.
It says Sakai, but I think it says, does it say something? It does. There's 2 guys. Oh, I thought there was, I got mixed up with the names that we just read a minute ago. But at any rate, Kara is our main character. Kara and her companions are pursued by Noam's lieutenants. Now, he is the very Darth Vader-ish knockoff bad guy, and I've got some thoughts about that as well. The last Sith of Jano Akagi. Again, we're in the weeds here. Because I didn't necessarily know. I remember the lead character because she's this perky young girl and blah, blah, blah. She's, late teens, early 20s, maybe younger. I don't know. But I'm just like, okay, well, she stands out. Gramps is her Gramps or an elderly grandfatherly figure. What's that?
He's a droid.
He's the droid. Is he the little droid? See what I mean?
No, he's the big droid. He's the big.
He's the big droid. He's not the little buzzsaw droid, which I thought was kind of cool. Gramps is able to trick Geno into flying near a black hole, another member of the crew, forcing him to use his powers to prevent his battleship from being sucked in. Kara and her companions, Kara or Kara if you prefer, I don't recall, and her companions then head to the planet Makuko and then ask this ruler, former Jedi Dunbai. I was thinking a bit more as Dunbar, like John Dunbar from the Dances with Wolves. That's just where my head went.
May have been a reference.
Could have been. For assistance. He refuses to get involved, pointing out that he prioritizes protecting his home planet, kind of like Thrawn, and kind of incidental. Mm-hmm. Geno then arrives remanding Dunbai hand the Jedi over. When Dunbai refuses, Geno invades the capital with the droid army. Kind of cool, kind of very episode 1, kind of on the nose. Yeah, exactly. Dunbai then takes the lightsaber Juro offers him to defend his people, while Juro and the other Jedi board Geno's ship to destroy its droid control unit. Oh, come on. Peter's finger went from on the nose on his nostril to the square middle of his nose if you're not watching us on YouTube.
Yeah.
Geno personally confronts Kara wielding a lightsaber he claims Zimha crafted, which I don't feel like we know who Zimha is.
That's her father.
At this moment, we don't know that, but yes, that will become more important later on. Though outmatched, Kara is able to distract Geno long enough for Gramps to destroy the droid control unit, forcing Geno to flee. Back at knockoff Darth Vader, or Noms, I'm just going to call him knockoff Darth Vader, works for me. I generally prefer nicknames when I'm doing any one of these narrations because it's more fun. Back at knockoff Darth Vader's base, he ridicules Zimha for living and hiding as a sabersmith when he is actually one of the most powerful Jedi in the galaxy. Ethan infiltrates knockoff Darth Vader's mercenary army to spy on him and witnesses him kill another Jedi in a duel. Yikes! He is shocked to see that knockoff Vader wields a blue lightsaber, revealing him to be a Jedi as well. Okay. No. I know. Woo. So here's my first. I'm going to throw this right at Peter, and then listeners, if you're like, oh my God, how could you not? What the hell is the setting of this? Are we just absolutely not at all connected to regular continuity? Are we in beta? Are we multiverse? Where are we? Because I'm like, images kind of look like we get a montage to start this, and it's like all these images of destroyed ships, and some of them look like stuff you might have seen in post like Return of the Jedi, like there's a crashed Imperial light cruiser or something. So are we in the desperately far future? Is that what's going on?
I'm fairly certain that we're supposed to be in the Old Republic, like really far back in the Old Republic.
Okay. Yeah, and listeners, please. I mean, listeners usually don't answer my pleas, but maybe I'll put something on social so they can help us out. But I'm really lost because I'm trying to remember. Visions overall seem to be about taking things out of continuity and that kind of stuff. So, Peter, talk to me about what you thought about this episode.
So this episode, I thought this episode was really interesting. I thought that using the black hole was really cool to capture the Sith. Then we got some really classic anime OP where he uses the Force to pull his ship back out of the gravity well and then flies away. Okay. Right. But still really neat. We used the modern look at how the black holes are rendered, which was, again, really, really cool. We did have the classic, oh no, we have a tracker on our ship and we haven't figured out where it is. And so we're going to fly directly to where we want to be and then take it off.
Right.
Which was like...
That's not how that's supposed to work.
Every time and that's not this episode in particular. That's just any movie, Star Wars or otherwise. Everyone does that. It's like, we have a tracker. Right. Maybe you should take it off at like the nearest rest stop and then keep going.
Yeah, right. Stick it on the back of somebody else's car.
Or do that.
They stop at that diner, that space diner from Spaceballs.
Oh yeah,
the Millennium Falcon was there. Yeah, as I was recently reminded in a deep dive video I watched.
Yeah. So anyway, there is a really quite funny moment where it's like the Navi computer's down. Well, Gramps has a Navi computer in his head. All right, and then he goes and zaps them off somewhere, and he's just a snarky little dork.
So if Gramps was the big droid, who was the elderly dude who had a big mustache? Wasn't there, or am I just making that up?
Was there another Juro is the Jedi with the goatee.
Okay.
Who has the gray hair or silver hair.
There we go.
And then I never caught the name of the other guy with the giant eyebrows. Like
the giant eyebrows guy, which I thought was Gramps, ties me right back to Wilford Brimley's character from the Ewok movies. So he was the Wilford Brimley. No, you know what I mean? Which I said was only one of the redeemable.
So his nickname is Beatus.
Diabetes. Yeah. Lord Diabetes.
Yeah. So anyway, they fly to this planet Makonoko, and there's a former Jedi done by, and I thought that was. I'm pretty sure we've done this before, but it's also something that I think is fairly common in Japanese culture, where we get a former warrior like a Ronin who then goes and rules an area because he's like, I'm done fighting. I'm done with your crap. I'm just going to do my own thing and protect my people. And that's it.
Right.
So it is a hashed out story, but it was still well done. And the fact that like the minute that Geno shows up and like, I want the fugitives, and he's like, piss off. That was pretty cool. The battle droids that they had felt a little bit overpowered.
I wrote
me.
Yeah, I wrote that down. I thought they were kind of a crisscross of the droidicas and the dark troopers. So they were a little too, you're right, they were a little too swole.
They were
with the different arms.
A little bit too much. I mean, they had the classic, like, this is from a while ago because they had to have a centralized droid computer, and once you use that, then everything's Dunskies. But they were really, really powerful, which was interesting. Now Jedi could slice through them like butter, but the soldiers were like shooting them and it wasn't doing a whole lot. But Jiro going back and then defending his people with the lightsaber that they hand him was kind of neat. Gramps being the one to destroy the droid control unit was funny just because of how they did that shot, where it's like Kara's like, oh, I didn't need to defeat you, I just need to distract you. What? And then you just like see the droid lot.
Yeah. No, I like that too.
So I wonder if we're gonna get another discussion of bleeding crystals, simply because we have a Sith wielding a red lightsaber that confused the living heck out of our character.
Right.
Like, this lightsaber was built by your father. My father would never build a lightsaber for a bad guy, basically. It's like, well, you don't. Sith just kind of do their own thing.
Right. Which throws into question kind of even more, when's this supposed to be happening?
That's why I'm thinking it's Old Republic, because they all know who the Sith are.
Right.
So the Sith haven't been extinct. They're just kind of there. But not in like huge numbers. So this seems like it's before Darth Bane. So it's a long time ago.
Right. In a galaxy far, far away. Thank you.
So
we don't go that way.
We also get Ethan, who's a character I think from earlier, from the second episode.
Yeah.
Infiltrates knock off Darth Vader's base. And we get the whole like, I'm sneaky, but I'm just wearing a hood and everyone knows who I am. It's like, nobody knows who you are, dude.
Right.
So then he sees another Jedi get killed because he brings up this whole thing of like, Nawam said that if anyone can defeat him, then they take over. Is that right? Yeah, that's right. Why do you bring it up? No reason. So that was, I mean, that like, it's got some good, clever stuff, like how anime generally does things. So I thought this episode was pretty solid. The thing where it's like, oh no, he's wielding blue lightsaber, therefore he's a Jedi. Okay. I'm not entirely like, that just means that he hasn't done like the full hatred thing, which we get more insight into in the next episodes.
Right. So. Yeah, exactly. So it's blossoming. I one final note, kind of a jam pack, because obviously it's the English dubbed, because this is was produced in Japan. But we get actors like Kimiko Glenn, who has been in a lot of different stuff, including a pretty cheeky role in Orange is the New Black, which is over on Netflix, fun show in its own way. Masi Oki from Heroes. Simu Liu, who's Shang-Chi himself. That's, to me, the biggest name. And an older Asian actor named Kyo Young, who's in tons of stuff, including some Star Treks. I think he was Harry Kim's father, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. And you had it because that's why I got through my IMDb for just going through. I did write there was a shish kebab time moment at the end where someone gets run through with a lightsaber, and I write good things those aren't fatal anymore.
But wait.
I did knock off Darth Vader's voice, who we do find out about him later. It very much sounds like Buffalo Bob from Silence of the Lambs, and I just can't unhear it. I'd F me. It's going to sound that way. I saw over the city that some of the ships flying by are making that TIE fighter engine noise, so like sonar system. So is that a thing?
It's kind of it's only through part of that when they're from a distance. When they get close, it drops off. So I'm not.
I know that's just
they're doing some interesting sound design.
Right. Yeah. I think that's absolutely correct. Okay. Let's roll on. We have almost the same creative team, so I'll give this a try. For episode 2, which is a hidden weapon, Shunkunsi Tada, Kenji Kiyama and
This one's a
Datsi.
different name.
Yeah, okay, never mind. Those are the creatives.
Yeah, Daisuke Onogashi.
I'm not going to disrespect their names. Kara and her companions head to the planet Bin Bin next, which I thought was BB, but I don't know how
they're pronouncing it like Bibin.
Bibin.
Very quickly. Bibin.
Where both Juro and Zima were trained as Jedi, so it's kind of home base. The planet's ruler, Lady Tafa, or like
feels very
Taffy.
Yavin 4.
Yeah, it's very Yavin, and she's very much kind of a Leia slash Mon Mothma-ish kind of gal. Reluctant to allow Jedi back, but allows them to land to recruit allies. That's weird. Okay, fine. Juro meets his old friend Kawa, but is also forced to reveal to Kara that Zima was exiled, Zima being her father. So I'm picking things up again. Was exiled from being for murder of their master, Reino Sutara.
Yeah.
Juro did not witness the deed himself, but agreed to shelter Zima and a then infant Kara, believing Zima had a reason for his actions. Friendship. Kara, Juro, and Kawa appear to the BB miners to join their cause, and Juro gives Kawa a lightsaber. At knockoff Darth Vader's base, Ethan discovers that knockoff Darth Vader is collecting vast amounts of kyber crystal to build a super weapon. And my original name for this episode was kyber crystal super weapon, that old chestnut. I find that kind of trying, but
Death Star version 0.0.03.
Yeah, negative 00 squared Batman symbol 1237. But it then of course malfunctions, because why wouldn't it? So knockoff Darth Vader brings in Zima, who voluntarily stabilizes the super weapon's crystal core, and Ethan is confused at seeing knockoff Darth Vader treating Zima as his master. What? Learning Juro has arrived at Bibin Noam. I'm just kidding. I'm stumbling over that. Knockoff Darth Vader makes an address to the galaxy demanding they surrender or be destroyed by his kyber crystal cannon. I love this. He decides to make an example of them anyway by firing it at Bibin, but he misses. Does someone miss with the Darth Vader or with a Death Star laser? They always seem to hit something.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that Zima messed with it.
Yeah.
So.
Kind of, he changed the coordinates of. It's kind of like, do you remember from the original Superman movie where he had Ned Beatty's character of Otis, and he had the numbers written down on his forearm and like a huge Sharpie, and he flipped two of them. Yeah, so it was kind of the same thing. All right, let's talk. What are we thinking about episode 2?
This episode I did like as well. The funny thing about Bibin and its asteroid miners was it very, very much felt like the elves and dwarves.
Like Keebler?
No, Lord of the Rings.
No, I know.
Very much felt like Lord of the Rings, elves and dwarves, which was hysterical to me.
Not the Seven Dwarves, the terrible CGI ones from Snow White.
No, not those. In part because like the miners are very much. I mean, obviously they're miners, but they're all short. They all are like animated as very stocky. And a lot of the stuff that we see with them is in a bar and they're drinking. So they're very much the stereotype.
Weird.
Of a dwarf,
dink,
which I
dink.
thought was funny.
Dink, 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 dink. I was watching Spaceballs. Things you didn't know video last night.
Yeah. And then
dink, dink, dink.
And then the other ones on Bibin are tall, long-haired, pointy-eared. They're elves, very clearly. So I just thought that was kind of funny. But that's neither here nor there exactly. But Bibin very much is Yavin. It's not Yavin, but it is. Because it's,
for all you know, it could be Yavin. I mean, we don't know what the hell's going on, but no, it's not.
I was waiting for them to do something because I mean, it still could be. Who knows? But because it's orbiting, it's a planet, it's a moon orbiting a gas giant that is of a suspiciously similar color to Yavin.
Right. It's Yavin's cousin.
Yeah, but it does have a ring of asteroids, which Yavin does not. So there is that. So they get on there. They have Quana fight Juro with swords, not lightsabers. Swords.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah. We don't see that super often in Star Wars with more conventional weapons.
That was pretty fun. And then it's like, oh no, what's going on here? And then we very much had a Lando meets Han Solo moment,
right?
Which I thought was great. they talk to them a bit, and then eventually it's like, hey, we're gonna do this, hooray. There's a big long where Quana tries to convince them. Juro kind of stands off on the end, and then it's Kara who stands up on the banister, nearly falls off 2 stories onto her face, but makes an appeal, and then all the miners kind of agreed to do it. Back at Nawam's base, they have this kyber crystal the size of like a semi,
right,
parked in the middle of this harness. And they're trying to test it, and it doesn't work. Like, it keeps overloading and frying people, which, oh no. But then for some reason, when Noam brings Zima in, he touches the crystal and like uses the force to realign its internal structure, which then fixes it. Why would you help the bad guy? But okay.
You did it. You did it.
So then he's getting ready to do something to it. He's getting ready to use it, and you do see Zima after the threat. And Zima does touch the crystal again, and the implication is that he's changing something, because you see a look on his face, and it's like, is he either helping or not? And then you see the blast misses because it grazes the planet. It carves a hole in the gases of Not Yavin, and then causes all of these other asteroids to lose their orbit and then come plummeting onto the planet, thus causing destruction anyway.
Right.
Which then leads into the next episode. But
right.
But yeah, it was interesting. I'm not sure what I feel about the giant kyber cannon, just because it feels very much Starkiller based, and I don't. But to be fair, though, they did have a shot where it does seem to fire into some sort of singularity that makes it go forward.
Right, yeah, there was a wormhole kind of thing. Yeah. So, because the whole Starkiller base thing, it was absolutely
Starkiller makes no sense. So this one at least attempts to explain it in a way, but it's still not my favorite thing.
Some space science, yeah, exactly. We got our first that I can remember since the original film. That's what she said moment when they drop out of space and they look at Beeman and they say it's huge.
Oh, yeah.
And the ship that they're flying on, and I don't think it's their main ship, but maybe it is. A little bit later on, they're kind of poking around. I think it's when they're going to speak to the miners on one of the little mining asteroid bases. Yeah. Kind of looks like the classic 1701 Enterprise jammed together with the Millennium Falcon. So I called it a post-retro modern design, because it's like Millennium Falcon, but there's a saucer in the back and some struts sticking out. I don't know. Go with what works. I really liked a few of the music cues and the kind of the interstitial musics in between seemed very cinematic and very Star Warsy, which I don't feel like we get in all of these. So it's kind of, and again, ways that they can pull stuff back to remind us in ways that are subtle, which doesn't always happen. Like a giant super laser weapon is not subtle. It's a very like, we'll make this work. Yeah. Don't really care for that, but yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. The voice actor for Juro I looked up was Saw Gerrera in Clone Wars and Bad Batch.
So that's why he sounds familiar.
Keeping some of the same. Our main Jedi guy, and again I'm losing the names, has a very cool on his lightsaber. It has a little ringed blade around the base. It reminds me of like it looks like a rapier, like the old, like a cutlass, like the old, like that's what it reminded me.
Yeah, I think they're supposed to go for katanas. I think because the katana protection for your hand, which for whatever reason I'm forgetting. The guard is circular on most katanas, and so that's what it's going.
You know what I'm thinking of, right? Like the old school. It's almost like a cone, like a dome.
Yeah, go over the old school rapiers and their baskets. Yeah.
That's what I was thinking of. Yeah, so I guess I know I had a note, if not for this episode, but for one of the later ones, but it shows up. But the OG blade, I think that knockoff Darth Vader has a very samurai swordish kind of thing, but it has a slider to activate it.
Yes,
so it has move it up to, which I don't feel like we've seen it before. And I'm not Mark, who obviously we used to record with all the time, is a real aficionado of lightsaber. So if that is something new, that's awesome. If it's not something new and I'm seeing it for the first time, that's also awesome.
Don't use sliders. We've had Rey had the first one that did something very different with a twist.
Yeah,
Pretty
that's
much
right.
everything else has been a switch of some sort.
Yeah,
Or
just a button. You go.
a button or a rocker switch. So this one being a
So
slide.
yeah, but that's cool. So does that mean you can change I wonder if that means you can change the intensity of it. It gets chopped in half.
Well, we did see in the next one, we do see Zima change the length of the lightsaber from full length to Shoto length.
So that must be.
So that could be an option. I mean, we do know from like the old visual dictionaries that you can do that.
Yeah.
But we've just never seen anyone do it on purpose.
Yeah. Do it. But anyway, yeah, as I said, I'm finding stuff to enjoy. So, all right, episode 3, Voice from the Past. Skipping the names because why mess that up? But you just go right ahead.
Okay,
why don't
so
you?
Directed by Shunsuke Tada, again, story by Kenji Kamiyama, and teleplay by Yumiko Yoshizawa.
There we go. Look at that. Although the crystal beam missed the planet is heavily destabilized, like Peter was saying, triggering a mass evacuation. So knockoff Darth Vader wants to fire a second shot, but the cannon overloads again. Oh, I wonder why that is. Ethan reports back to Juro, informing him that the nature of the weapon and its location on Yago. So throwing in another Star Warsy kind of planet, which have we seen it before? I'm not sure.
I don't think so, no.
Meanwhile, Tafla heads to the palace to reactivate an old ship for the evacuation that is left trapped by a sudden collapse.
She left hanging.
She'd left hanging. Kara is able to save her, but they both end up getting trapped inside the hangar. So it's time for some girl chat. Waiting for rescue, Tafla tells Kara the history of the Jedi Order on Bin Bin. And again, this is where we get into all kinds of confusion for me. Many years ago, Master Reno arrived on the planet to rebuild the Jedi Order. Rebuild it from what? So that makes me feel like we're in the distant. We're in the distant future or something. But he takes on Juro and Zima as his Padawans, in this past scenario. Reno then starts to engage in diplomacy with other systems and roam the galaxy and just killing off remaining Sith, which to your point seems like it could be back in the Old Republic times, because it was kind of the Old Republic when it kind of collapsed down, was the killing the big Sith war, or maybe even further past that, big Sith war, wiping the Sith out, invented the rule of 2 at the end of that. That's my recollection of all that.
Yeah.
Without getting into huge detail. So it throws me back to that. So, and I'm sure this could all be served by a Google search, but we're just trying to, for us, I guess in some ways we're trying to talk it through on a layman's level for anyone who's listening, because again,
a quick note, I just checked Wikipedia just to be sure. And the Ninth Jedi is set in an alternate version of the Star Wars galaxy. So that is why some of this does not look familiar.
There we go. Eventually, Reno and Zima came into disagreement over the former's involvement in politics, getting back into politics. And then they had a big dust up. During the battle, Zima's lightsaber inexplicably turned silver before he slew Reno and fled. Afterwards, Tafla was forced to disband the Jedi Order. Juro and Kawa managed to reopen the hangar and they take Reno's old ship. In an evacuation effort while exploring the ship, Kara finds evidence that Reno was secretly arranging the disappearances of trade officials, because they were all frozen in carbonite, which I thought was pretty cool, to carry out illegal... What's that? And dead. Because you can leave somebody in there too long. It's like getting freezer burn if you leave a steak in your downstairs freezer for too long, which happens here. Illegal ore smuggling, meaning he fell to the dark side, which is why Zima killed him. So it was justified, potentially. Tavada then takes Bin Bins to search for a new home, while Juro leads Kawama's fleet back to Yago. Wow. Lot going on there. So this was our big flashback revealed, creating some complexity kind of situation. So let's talk. What'd you think?
I did like this backstory. Most of the episode was backstory with the flashback, which was fine because it especially gives context for the next episode.
Right.
But I thought it was interesting how I thought it was hilariously convenient how we end up with Kara and Tafla both trapped in this hangar.
Right. So you have a girl chat.
Yeah, so you can have the two characters, the two female characters talk about the past, which it's fine, and then Juro and Kwama are upstairs going like, do we redo this wiring?
What's that rule about two female characters in one place?
The Bechdel test. The
Bechdel test. See if they won't talk about a man. That's all they did.
Well, they talked about her father and history, so I guess it's a little different.
So not in a romantic sense. Okay, all right. So by a hair of the definition, they skirted around it
barely, but yes, because they're talking about story. They're story dumping, which is important.
They're story dumping. Story dumping.
So exposition.
Exposition.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting how we have like, oh, the Jedi need to be refounded for some reason or another. Okay, I don't. How many times has this happened in history? But all right.
A whole lot.
So they're on this planet reforming the Jedi, and then Reno acts very much like I know best, and I'm going to go, create trade routes so that we can survive
Profit from trading.
Yeah, so we can survive from trade and benefit and all
Make
that.
some bucks. Right.
And so we have like this whole kind of Jedi Academy thing where they have multiple younglings. They're not Padawans because apparently the masters still have to take specific Padawans.
Right.
But they're training all the younglings. There's a whole bunch of them. The camera does hover on one in particular, who we find out is a little bit more important in the next episode. And so we have all of this, and we have a lot of Tafla going like, it was great, but we didn't really know what was going on. And then all of a sudden, well, actually not all of a sudden, Zima goes off and goes Sith hunting for a while. Like he goes around the galaxy just taking out Sith.
Wabbit hunting?
Yeah, pretty much. He goes out he goes out Sith hunting. And so there's kind of this implication that there might be darkness in his soul. Because we gotta muddy the waters. And then we get the whole thing. Well, Reno's going out. He's there's just been some really weird coincidences of people disappearing, and so he goes and resolves the issue, and then we get good things coming out of it. It's like that's this. But it ends up working, and then Zima challenges him about it, and then they start fighting, which confuses Tafla. And then what we see is they pause in a walkway, and Zima stops and holds his lightsaber like old Ben Kenobi on the Death Star.
Right.
But instead of just going full pause and then getting, chopped into ethereal half.
Right.
His lightsaber turns silver. So we create a whole different thing than what we hear in canon. With the bleeding of a lightsaber, we get a lightsaber turning silver.
Right.
I thought was
somewhat
fascinating.
Reflective.
I'm curious to see how we explain that.
Like the emotional journey or state or some kind of change of the user.
The way that it's described, particularly later, so just a little bit skipping ahead just to give context, the way it's described reminds me very much of the way of the blade and the way of the fire and stuff that we hear about in the Wheel of Time. So you may not be familiar with that, but it's a fantasy book series. And
I've heard the name.
And there's a character that the way that he learns how to fight is you concentrate on you put all of your emotions into a flame and it makes them go away. And then there's a nothing, then it's emotionless and you can just focus on the fight. And that's very much what felt like was going on here. It's a very Eastern way of fighting.
Right.
And so I think that's what they were going for here, which I thought was interesting. The interesting thing is that it doesn't persist in the lightsaber. So whatever this state is, it's not a permanently traumatic change for the saber where it becomes red, for instance. So because it turns back to blue after the fact. So anyway,
interesting.
He ends up killing Reno. We get the classic arm drops at the edge of the camera, and we don't see the corpse because bloody nasty things happen to it. And then he leaves his lightsaber and jumps through the window. And then a Padawan picks up the lightsaber. Ooh, that's not important.
Again, on the nose.
Yeah.
We could call this episode a bit on the nose, but I like our first title better.
So and then of course that's kind of where the flashback stops. Juro and Quana get the thing opened up, and it's like, oh shit, this is Reno's ship. And then that's when Kara finds the frozen in carbonite, now dead, people who went missing for all the trade talks.
Missing. It's the equivalent of finding a corpse in a freezer, pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
So it's like, the serial. Oh, it's Ted, but he's just in the
he's not the serial killer. Oh, no.
Oh, there's Grandma.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh. A lot of my questions got answered, so I don't have a ton of other notes because I was wondering about the setting, but you kind of cleared that up. We get a Dank Ferric, though, which is a Star Wars swear, which I have always been quite fond of. Which
breaks it out.
related back to the Mandalorian. So yeah, you're right. I do love how Kara says at one point when she's having this conversation with the Mon Mothma like Tafta characters, like, what exactly did my father do? I said, just really seems like not a great question you want to pose or answer that you really want.
Yeah, sometimes.
But it had to happen. But yeah, we're kind of moving things forward. So I'm pretty psyched. All right, wrapping it up. Nawam Attacks, or Knockoff Darth Vader Attacks, is the name of the episode, and it's made by, back to Peter.
It's directed by Shunsuke Tada, story by Kenji Kamiyama, and teleplay by Mitsuyasu Sakai.
Nice. Already aware of Juro plans, Knockoff Darth Vader leads a preemptive strike to Beeben, pinning down Kwama's fleet before they can leave for Yago. So it's big pew pew time. It's big space fight time. It's
which they do a
prime
really
Star
good
Wars
job with.
Yeah, I think, there's a lot of, I didn't mention that earlier, but there is a lot of 3D/CGI art in this for the space vehicles, which I think is
particularly the
great.
spaceships or speeders to give
I think
Star Wars like.
Yeah, they really knock it out, and they don't do anything weird trying to like mesh the two together. I don't remember seeing that, so I'm glad, because I think that would be super messy, and I wouldn't want to see it. So Knockoff Darth Vader leads his forces to board Kwama's flagship, forcing Juro, Homan, and Kwana to defend the engine room. However, this allows
his real name.
Yeah, what's that?
That's Beatus's real name, Homan.
Oh, there we go. Beatus. This allows Knockoff Darth Vader himself to attack the bridge directly, with only Kara standing in his way. So it's the big showdown. Kara engages Knockoff in I'm just going to call him Knockoff. It's
there
easier.
You go.
Engages Knockoff in a duel where Knockoff admits that he was one of Reno's Padawans after having a super unsubtle swipe to his head, which shatters his helmet. So then, there's his face, and he's this guy with white hair and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And yes, he says that he was one of the Padawans who witnesses Kara's father to slay Reno 911. Which I should have been calling the whole time.
Yeah.
Inspired by Zima manifesting the silver lightsaber and achieving nothingness, in quotes, he became convinced that the true way to achieve peace in the galaxy is through discarding his own emotions and attaining absolute power. So it's kind of Vulcans crossed with who is Tom Hardy as the bad guy in Nemesis? Shinzon?
Yeah, Shinzon.
So it's kind of Vulcan Shinzani. If you compare it back to something in Star Trek that I can think of. So Juro arrives to fight Knockoff, but Kara succumbs to her rage and continues to fight as well, distracting Juro, but it allows Knockoff to mortally wound him. Totally didn't see that coming.
He gets shish kebabbed, and it is fatal. Yeah,
this time around. Kara destroys Knockoff's lightsaber, but is helpless to stop Juro from dying and becoming one with the Force, so he does disappear. On Yago, Ethan helps Zima escape. Oh, Yago is the bad guy base. I'm sorry.
Yes.
I got that kind of. That's where the stupid super laser is.
Yes.
So yes. Where was I? Okay, yeah. Ema helps Zima escape, but Zima admits he allowed himself to be captured by Knockoff to try and reform him as penance for warping his mindset. Boy, that's a sentence. Stopped by Geno and sensing Juro's death, Zima decides to stay behind and orders Ethan to go and help his friends. Zima is forced to wield Ethan's lightsaber to fight Geno, while at the same time, Knockoff takes Juro's lightsaber and manifests the silver color. So the silver is coming from him. It's obviously not the blade. It's coming from his juice, his chi, his quan, as they would be said in like Jerry Maguire. Everyone is forced to evacuate the flagship while the boarding party detonates its fuel tank. Kara is narrowly able to escape on a separate ship, but is knocked unconscious. The end. The end of part 4. All right, let's talk notes.
All right. Knockoff Darth Vader wearing his knockoff Samurai Stormtrooper Vader combination helmet.
I know. How do you get? What section is that at Space Walmart? I wonder.
Don't know.
Or maybe more like Eddie Bauer. Maybe it's a little higher end. I don't know.
Yeah.
LL Bean, Space LL Bean.
Yeah. I think
I like LL Bean. Yeah, that works.
Bed helmets and beyond. I don't know.
Oh, that could be a. I still don't want to change the name of the episode, though. You know,
leave it.
All right. I was going to say you decide, but you've decided. That's good.
So, anyway, so him landing on the ship to go fight them is kind of an interesting choice, because now it's like it seemed like for most of the stuff everything's kind of beneath him, where he's just like good with standing on the bridge of the ship, just going like, yes, my plans are working, and that's it. but now he goes and attacks. Okay, cool. Um, but I think he's looking for Juro specifically, but then ends up meeting Kara instead, and then fights. And it's like, oh wait, you're Zima's daughter. Now let me torment you, because that's what bad guys do.
Right.
But as we've had with him every time we've seen him, is he's very dispassionate. He doesn't have a whole lot of rage or anything, and so when finally
He's chill. He's mellow.
He's very mellow. So by the time his helmet gets destroyed, which it gets cut on the side, very Darth Vader in Rebels or Darth Vader in the Obi-Wan show, or Kylo Ren, where you have like part of the face visible, but then hilariously in classic anime style, he stands up and then the rest of the helmet shatters off the side of his head. So now you can see his whole head.
And I wrote, but of course she shatters his helmet, and he is ... some guy.
Yeah.
It reminds me of an old Seinfeld routine where he's talking about marriage and saying that men are basically interchangeable. The vows aren't, do you take Bill Simpson? It's, do you take this man?
Yeah. Fair. Oh man. So he comes and he fights, and after the helmet, he's just like, oh, so now that you see my face, I'm now going to tell you my whole backstory.
Yeah, right.
And so
I'm glad you asked, because now I really want to, it's like Ultron. I really want to tell you my entire evil plan.
Monologuing.
Yeah, you got me monologuing. And I actually thought that it was pretty cool, because they really, I think the suspense of, she's kind of following him around, like it looked like a food court or a bar or something, and he's hiding in the corners and he's still talking.
They call it the bridge in this summary, but it's the bar that they had.
Yeah.
2 episodes ago. So I don't
a lot of, I mean, even watching Strange New Worlds, don't a lot of important decisions get made in their bar, like on TNG and 10 Forward?
There is that.
A lot of important character exposition takes place as people are having drinks or whatever.
Yeah, there is that. So anyway, he gives kind of that explanation that we talked about a little bit in the previous episode about how the lightsaber turning silver because he achieves that empty state, that emotionless state to be.
So it's ennui. It's silver is ennui. Yeah, it's like, I don't really give a shit. I'm bored, because I love ennui, and
it's not quite the ennui of like I don't care. It's the detachment.
It's very Gen X. It's very much of my generation. Which
it's very Shinto.
Yes.
Okay. Where it's the I have divorced myself not because I'm not invested in doing things, but because my emotions, they are too much and I need to be past that. And being in this state of emotionlessness allows me to make decisions and see clearly and do the things that I need to do. So that's
not in a glass cage of emotion, separate from the glass cage of emotion. Absolutely. I love, so that last escape sequence that we're talking about, kind of at the block end where the father character is escaping, the little droid that's been by his side all the time turns into a flying buzzsaw, which is totally awesome. I was totally on board with this. So our master is dying, and he's given this sad dying speech to Kara, but he hands her this wrap something. I said, sad dying speech, here, take this loaf of bread I wrapped up for you, because we don't see what the hell it is. But it's this like rectangular package.
It's the other lightsabers that she was carrying.
But I liked that he took the time to gift wrap it, and there was a bow on it, which I thought was really very sweet. But yeah, I mentioned again that the katana hilt with the slide lock lightsaber, that's kind of my new favorite thing. I think that's cool, and it's very very on brand, and I like it. But yeah, those were my thoughts about this episode. I dug it. And then I have some final thoughts as well. But any final thoughts before we move into the rating phase?
I would just say that I really do want to see a little bit more about this silver lightsaber thing, because I think Juro's lightsaber turns silver again, and then also Nawam's turns silver in this episode. So it'll be interesting to see where we go with that, and if anyone else continues to use it, because if they continue to make more stories set in this particular anime continuity, it'll be a thing. So it'll be just interesting to see what they do with it.
Yeah. I'd be curious to see how it might transition over exactly. So I did a rating for the block. So these kind of 4 episodes together, and I probably went with a rating of like a 7.5 out of 10, which is to me very high because again, I'm somebody who doesn't enjoy anime at all. I find it pretty tedious. Maybe a cultural thing for me. I'm not knocking on anyone who enjoys it. Globally, it's quite a phenomenon, but it just does not resonate with me, and I can only speak for myself because I refuse to be. Go back to my original comment and something I've said on many of our shows from the very we've been doing this podcast thing for 12 years now. I refuse to get behind people who say, well, it's dumb because I don't like it. I refuse to. But I will say that I think one of the broader issues here is the limited appeal that this ends up having, and it turns into a Marvel and the multiversal and Disney Plus Marvel television thing, is that your appeal is limited because we have a short from the first volume of the original show, then it skipped a season, came back in volume 3, and again, it's short, so it's very piecemeal to go back and know that and understand that, and plus we're set in what is an alternate universe, but because I didn't go back because a great example, I didn't go back and do my homework, but I had seen those a very long time ago. And because I feel like I'm fairly competent in being able to keep up with story beats and being somebody who kind of lives in the periphery of this entertainment world, I can pick up on stuff. But I feel like people in the zeitgeist have grown just super weary of having to feel like they got to be super prepped to watch something and be steeped and not have a million different questions. So, I think, and this was my note I wrote before you kind of clarified me. If your brain can just say, oh, this is a pocket universe, this is an alternate continuity, you can let yourself go and just be like, okay, this has elements of Star Wars, but it's not bound by continuity, which is something that people really deride. That being said, I shaved off those, 2.5 points over this because of some of the super predictable inclusion of beats. The giant stupid super laser, the main villain who's the big knockoff of Darth Vader. If you're going to be something else, then don't do the same thing. Like, oh, we're trying to pull in Star Wars viewers by giving them familiar elements. Don't give me a lot of really predictable, stupid, cold cues of things that I'm like, well, the super laser thing was, they did it in the original film. It was crazy then. They brought it back with kind of less impact in Return of the Jedi. It was really terrible in The Force Awakens, as you and I said with Starkiller Base, because it didn't make any sense. Well, we made a planet into a blah, 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 and it pulls from the sun, and then it shoots a laser across. But it's just, it's a bridge too far.
Yeah.
So this one, like you said, at least they coupled it with we shoot a laser beam into a wormhole, which happens to open up, and so it can hit this planet and blah, blah. That's very science fiction-y. I prefer that to like you were saying, to the Starkiller based bit. But yeah, I was very much a yawn by that. So I'd say if you're gonna in for a penny, in for a pound, if you're gonna make something break out and still put in like, okay, some of the sounds are the same, and we still have Jedi, and we still have Padawan, and there were Sith, and there were lightsabers, and there's space battles and stuff. So, but yeah, don't give us the bones, but don't give us the minutia that is the ground is so it's like a worn out carpet. You know what I mean? So yeah. So that's me. How about you? Where do you land out of 10 and why?
I might actually put this at like an 8.5, so maybe let's say 8.25.
Okay.
I thought that they did a very solid job of like keeping the story moving, keeping the tension going.
Yeah, tension was great.
So I thought that like the story building elements were really, really well used. The musical cues were good. The visual design was interesting, which is something that's very rare.
And they brought some things to the table, like that great katana lightsaber hilt with the slide lock. Cool visual, tied back in with what the original aim was. Loved
guard. Like there's lots of really interesting choices here. The starships look interesting. The bad guy ships are a little maybe too much. Kind of, they made me think of the way that they were shooting them. Made me think of Battleship Yamato, which they're not exactly, but it just kind of made me think that. But I do like a lot of the character design. I like this animation style out of a bunch of the different ones that we saw in Visions. So I think that going with this one was a good choice, because it's one of the more clean and fairly standard animation styles, so people who are watching anime, watching this, who aren't familiar with all the different kinds of anime that can be done by various studios in Japan, would have more of a visual, like, okay, this is anime, I know what this is, but it's not too weird.
Right. Sure.
Characters are more classic. They're more standard designs in terms of like how they're drawn and that sort of thing. I am an anime fan, so for me, it was one of those things of I liked seeing this medium try its hand at it, because anime has done Star Wars-ish things before, and it's done lightsabers and stuff to varying levels of success. There was one anime that very, very clearly had a lightsaber, but they couldn't use the sounds and they couldn't call it a lightsaber.
You don't want that Lucasfilm lawsuit.
Well, Lucas, I think, wouldn't have cared as much, but the current powers that be care very
the corporate
much.
overlords, the Empire.
So I thought that a lot of like the character arcs that they had that they have begun to set up in this are fairly solid. I'll be curious to see where they take Zima, because his is not entirely clear to me. We see what he said he's doing, but we don't know where he's actually going. Kara's clearly in for a struggle with the dark side, which is pretty standard for your lead character in a Star Wars story, so I think that's fine.
Right. Big time.
But yeah, I did knock it down a little bit because of some of the predictability, like you said. Because
places they just don't need
places
to go.
They don't really need it. Like the super weapon, like, okay, it's interesting, but it kind of felt like episode 9 or with that, where it's just like, oh, we have a super weapon because of course we do. Or like, to go like more in the weeds, like my unfinished fan film completion to my series where I had a super weapon also, but mine was there to be stupid. This was not. So
whoops.
So it felt a little like that, and so when I make comparisons to my own fan films, that's usually when there's a problem. But but other than like those things to knock it down for like some of the predictability stuff, I think they did a pretty bang up job this first set.
Yeah. Cool. Good deal. Awesome. Well, just based on time, I think we're going to dedicate our next episode to just talking about the rest of this. And then the Lego movie I was talking about, we'll push that to the episode after that so that we don't. Because, we'd like to keep these right around an hour. Usually Code 47 is 90-ish minutes just because we have a little bit more to talk about. So I've come to realize over time doing podcasts that I think shorter is better.
It is.
When you think about how people are listening to them, if I'm on a long drive or if I'm a short drive, I don't want to have to spend 3 hours listening to a bunch of people babble about whatever. That's my direction as a producer. Unfortunately, Peter and I agree. But with that, friends, we will leave you. Thanks as always for tuning in. Peter, where do people find you out there if they want to talk about the Ahsoka trailer and your thoughts on Thrawn? Right. Where do they pin you down?
All right. Well, if you want to talk to me about Thrawn, you can find me around the interwebs at Patrice Aquinas on most social platforms, including our Discord.
Yes.
So
we need some love on our Discord. It's certainly not what it used to be. So I'd love to see more people hook up with us there.
So if you ping me, then I'll say something. I'm not always all keeping an eyeball on it. But if you ping me, then I'll be able to reply. Because I don't always do tons of stuff. But you can find me there. You can find me over on ELH's Twitch, YouTube, and Discord, where we do Star Trek adventures primarily, but also just talk about random things, make memes, do silly things. And then you can also find me behind the scenes on both now Starship Excelsior and Star Trek Aftermath.
Ooh. I keep waiting for you to pull me in, but then again, I need more stuff to do.
Maybe we'll get you to record a character.
I'll give a stab. I'd be interested. But you can find me, both myself and then also the regular Secret Friends Unite social media handles are kind of run by me. We're everywhere. We collectively, both of us, me and the big us, are on everywhere except for X and TikTok, largely, though I've been thinking about getting back into TikTok a little bit. I don't know if it makes any difference. I keep getting pings saying more people are following you, so I thought maybe I should give them some more content because I do, with a regular basis, do my little 3-minute kitchen chats. Peter did one with me recently where we were promoting a Star Trek trivia game, which was sent to us to test out. So definitely check that out. That's on all the Secret Friends Unite medias and all. Excuse me. Also my personal social media, which is at the C3, TheCeethree. You can reach us via email if you like. Drop us a note. Let us know something you're enjoying with Star Wars or literally anything else in the geek world. secretfriendsunite@gmail.com. Of course, our website, NINTH.com is the place to find all of our content, as well as our YouTube channel. And as we talked about at the top of the show, patreon.com/secretfriendsunite. Great way, even if you're a free member, just to see all the stuff we're producing, and if you choose to try us out, you get to do that for a week for free and then stay on board for as little $2 a month. We'd love to have you enjoying content with us. But with that, friends, as always, thank you for tuning in. I'm going to tell you that sharing is caring, and to keep on trucking.
May the force be with you.
This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and podcast services around the galaxy, as well as video on our YouTube channel. You can support Secret Friends Unite by becoming a Patreon member, get bonus programs and more over at patreon.com/secretfriendsunite. Join our Discord community for even more discussions on all things geek. For all the latest updates on Secret Friends Unite, make sure to follow us on Threads at secret.friends.unite and visit secretfriendsunite.com. Find our merchandise at TeePublic and Redbubble. Thanks for listening, and may the Force live long and prosper.